We're here for a panel discussion on mine electrification with three global experts in the field. And today we'll be discussing what the electric mine looks like and how it relates to other technologies, such as automation. To introduce our panelists, we have Mirzad Ashnagaran, Global Product Line Manager, Electrification and Composite Plant for ABB. ABB being a global leader in electrification solutions, including eMine, a concept for bringing the all-electric mine to the market. Sean Samuels, a member of the Epiroc Canada team, overseeing electrification in Canada for Epiroc, one of the major OEMs in the mining space. And this includes the launch of battery electric vehicle equipment, batteries and chargers. And Elizabeth Clausen, a full professor and director of the Institute for Advanced Mining Technologies at RWTH Aachen University in Germany. And together with her team, Elizabeth develops technologies for the automation, digitalization, and electrification of mining machines and processes to enable safe, efficient, and responsible raw material extraction. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Happy to be here.
To begin, I'd like to ask you each to put yourself in the position of a mine operator or developer that's considering electrification of their fleet. What are the different components of electrification that they should be aware of? And what should they be doing now to prepare for implementation? Mirzad, let's begin with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nadov. To answer this question, I should say that a mine looks different when we talk about electric mine. I mean, compared to the traditional design of the mine, I should say that the electric mine should be different. And we are not talking about a piece of charger or trolley system. Actually, it's just beyond that. Mining market, more and more understanding what is behind electric mine. And we see more and more they are telling us decoupling mines from the diesel is not an easy task due to the diverse range of technical and financial challenges that we see. And I believe for getting the value out of this electrification, we need to develop a kind of roadmap in parallel to the mine plan. Means that by having this mine plan, which is actually fully incorporated with the technology roadmap, we can actually provide the technology options which can be incorporated to the system as they are advancing progressively and as this technology becoming more mature and scalable and cost-effective. Therefore, in other words, I should say, is a single journey with a series of well-planned steps. And definitely it's not happen overnight. It needs time. And we are helping this day from ABB side by eMine concept. We are helping our customer to break down this long-term roadmap to a kind of short-term actionable or workable sub-projects or pilot projects, piece of piece, step by step, helping them to transform their operations towards all electric one. And I should say that from operator or miner point of view, what needs to be considered that this will not happen unless that they engage also as a technology provider in the early stages, what we call it ECIR, or in early involvement in the opportunity to be able to implement electrification. And these days we are quite well engaged in many opportunities by running a kind of comparative simulation studies, which is a kind of techno-commercial assessment to understand particular mining operation, help our customer, and providing them a kind of guidance for a strategic project decision, helping them to customize the best fit of particular mining operation, understand their operational challenges when everything is going to be electric. And beside that, we have a lot of parallel trends. For example, working towards integration of renewable energy. I mean, we cannot remove the diesel from a truck and at the same time increase the power based on the diesel genset in the same way. No, we need to actually work also towards a green energy. Therefore, a trend that even started earlier than all electric mine was integration of renewable energy. It's already started. Therefore, we would like to tell our miner and also our customer in operations that this needs to be considered as an entire ecosystem. It's not only electrification of fleet, but integration of also renewable energy also is quite important. And renewable energy is not alone. When we have a renewable energy, since it's 24/7 operation, we need also to consider all other elements, right? Like the storage system. Also bringing a storage system and also new source of energy, like renewable energy, we need to think about the power quality, which is actually a chronic problem of miners. It will get worse by integration of renewable energy. Therefore, from my point of view, we need to tell miners and operators that, first of all, have a full picture of what is going to happen. And having a picture of entire ecosystem of electrification, which are actually solution like charging system or battery equipped vehicle or trolley system, only a part of it.
And Elizabeth, from your perspective as an academic partner to mine operations that are looking at getting into electrification, developing electrification, what from your perspective are the things that these mine operators should be thinking about?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot, Meza, for already what you have said, and I try not to repeat things. But when thinking about electrification, I think it's important to first of all think about what are the drivers behind that. And as electrification is an enabler for lowering carbon emissions, for reaching the objectives or the target of net carbon or net carbon zero mines. And so electrification, I think, and this is important, could be an enabler for reaching that. But it's also important to think about what does electrification of mines means. And as we do have, as already stated and pointed out, different types of electrification, and also, and I fully agree to that, what you said, Meza, that it's important to see the full picture of the mine operation, of the deposit, of the energy supply side, of the infrastructure, and also the available technologies. And I definitely would like to highlight that every mining operation is unique. It's unique from its location, it's unique from how it looks like, it's unique from how the ore or the mineral is going to be mined, and how does the geometry look like. So, and if I would be a mine operator, first of all, I would have started to have a full picture and analysis of all my processes to identify when achieving or when aiming at reducing carbon emissions, to point out, so where are the highest producers of carbon emissions in my whole flow sheet, from operations as well as from the processing side, to see the full picture, to identify the main points of carbon emission producers, and then also to identify what could be critical, what are critical components in reducing, or where does it make from a priority side, and to what are the processes to first of all look like. And very often we are focusing on hauling, and this is our transportation, which is due to the fact that transportation by conventionally using mainly diesel equipments or mobile machines using diesel is one of the most promising, let's say, objectives or most promising areas for mine operations. But to put it on a bit higher level, so first of all, I would focus on my whole process, identify the main producers, then focus on different certain aspects, and also I would like to highlight that it is a matter of the mine design. So it is not just from replacing diesel equipped vehicles by electric equipped vehicles or battery or trolley line or however. What does the solution look like? So it's really about rethinking also the processes, rethinking the mine design, and also then to rethink how we could create a good mine design, and this needs to fit together. So from a long-term, midterm to a short-term and scheduling perspective. When we talk about the mine design, of course, we talk about, and this is like, let's say, more or less the connecting point is the fleet or is the mining equipment. But it's also important to incorporate aspects of infrastructure when it comes to energy. It has already been mentioned by Merzat. But it also is important to think about the infrastructure when it comes to communication. You pointed out in your introduction that very often, and I fully agree to that, that when we talk about electrification of mines, it's very often also a discussion about electrification and automation. And when we talk about automation, or in terms of reaching and developing autonomous solutions, it's also about the communication infrastructure. How does machines communicate with each other? How does the scheduling look like? How does the control look like? So we have I'd say the overall picture, having in mind the whole process, from a mine design perspective, from an equipment selection, and also control perspective, and quite intensively also, it's important to focus on infrastructure, energy infrastructure, to transform it into, as Merzat already said, into the green energy solutions, and also from the communication infrastructure perspective.
Thanks. And Sean, from an OEM perspective, how would you be advising mine operators that are getting started in electrification to prepare for this transition?
Thanks to my colleagues here, and you mentioned a lot of the things you need to consider and plan for. And there's kind of two scenarios out there that we're facing right now. There's mines that are existing mines that want to switch over, and then there's new mines. And as Elizabeth mentioned, there's very different scenarios out there, and the mine's got to look at that and say, how are we going to do that? Can we do, for instance, haul downward so that we can regen on our equipment and the battery lasts longer when we're hauling? Or is that even possible in an existing mine, where new mines can design that in? So there's definitely design characteristics that when you're going electric, you need to look at. You need to look at your energy, which was mentioned, your capacity to provide. And then what we're seeing with a lot of customers is a lot of education. A lot of people hear about electric, they want to be sustainable, they want to go net zero emissions, and they just say, oh, we want electric equipment, but they really don't understand it. So we're doing a lot of education with mines right now who are going electric, and explaining the batteries and the systems involved and the maintenance and all the things that go with that. And then charging, very critical that mines look at how they're going to charge, where they're going to charge, that kind of planning, being agnostic. Like if you have in a mine, they have lots of equipment from different suppliers. You don't want to have a charger for each equipment in your mine. You want to have a very good, you want to be agnostic so that you can charge all your equipment and not have to have different chargers or different things in your mine and more expense. So there's lots of things to consider. Most of them my colleagues have mentioned for planning in that, but yeah, so a lot of education, what we're doing now, and that's what we spend a lot of time with our customers and making sure they're trained and running ready for it. They're ready for the electric mine. So.
I think a couple of you have mentioned automation, so the integration of electrification with automation. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think all three of you have been involved in projects and research to varying degrees that focus on the integration of electrification with automation. So it seems to be a really big component. But I guess for those who are curious, how are these two things connected? And I guess zooming out a bit, why is it important that mine operators think about automation when already considering electrification? Elizabeth, let's start with you for this question.
Yeah, happy to start. So when talking about electrification and automation, so now specifically focusing on the battery equipped or battery electric vehicles. So when we talk about battery electric vehicles and specifically transportation vehicles, so mobile machines, having the need to be flexible, and there we do have the difficulty when that we, on one hand, we need to have the flexibility in terms of transportation, but on the other hand, also we need to guarantee also that the transportation takes place. So this is one thing. So I'm convinced that transportation solutions will look like different when it comes to battery electric vehicles, so that we are because we do want to have transportation equipment which is carrying rocks and not battery. So when, for example, then talking about and thinking about dynamic loading of transportation vehicles, and so this is something which needs to somehow synchronized. So meaning also that I think that also transportation vehicles in some operations will be smaller than we have it now, or than we have it today. So meaning also for guaranteeing the amount and quantity of rocks, this leads to more or a larger amount of vehicles in one fleet. So this is on one hand. So let's say we go for smaller vehicles, we go more for more vehicles for guaranteeing the quantity. On the other hand, we do have the energy supply side, and the energy supply side, as also mentioned by Mercer, if you go into green energy, we do have the difficulty or the question on how to integrate renewable energies into the mine operation. And so automation, in my opinion, specifically can play an important role when it comes to the match of the fleet with the deposit, as well as in terms of the energy. And what is quite interesting is if we look back or conventionally nowadays with the vehicles or mobile machines with diesel, we need to mainly focus on our deposit to guarantee the flexibility, and we need to go for selective mining operations to have the flexibility to react on the variability in the deposit. So nowadays we still have to incorporate that, but on the other hand, also when it comes to the control of the operation, we have to incorporate also the variability from the energy supply side. And therefore, in my opinion, it's important, or automation can play a role when it comes to the control of the vehicles. So when it comes to the scheduling of the vehicles, when to go where, to which kind of operation, when to load, and also so that at the end of the day, so that even though we have an increased complexity of all our operations, so that is some more or less synchronized, also that we have a best match and best fit between the energy supply, energy demand, between the deposit, between the production goals, and also to, at the end of the day, we didn't have to forget that the aim of the production is to provide the right materials at the right time, in the right amount for the subsequent processing plant or subsequent processes. And to guarantee that, automation plays an important role. And also additionally, when we talk about automation or autonomous systems, even though that I'm convinced that we can generate a better efficiency and productivity, also it is a chance to rethink also the mining equipment, how mining equipment look like, how they will be configured in future, and this can also lead to a higher efficiency in terms of reducing payloads, for example.
And Sean, I suppose a few of those points touched on, with mining equipment, the heart of what Epiroc does. So how would you relate to this question, the integration of automation and electrification?
Yeah, there's a couple of goals with automation and electrification, and the first is safety. So the mines are really concerned about people and putting people in danger, people at the face. So both electrification, where you have less heat emissions, you have less emissions from the machine, you have less noise emissions. It's for the operator, but automation is also doing the same thing. If you remove the person from the mine and have them running equipment from surface or even another city, then you're also avoiding those hot temperatures on the ground in closed spaces and those kind of things. So automation goes hand in hand on the safety side of it. And then the big synergy between electrification and automation is productivity and the synergy of planning and when to charge, using your energy better, because if you automate a machine, it runs more steady, you can set it so it's optimizing the amount of energy it's using to do the task. And then you can also optimize when you go charge, how much you charge. Good example in a car is that when you charge a vehicle if you charge near the top end of it, it slows down and it takes a long time to charge it. Where if you charge in the middle, it charges a lot faster. So if you have automated, you can actually predict those kind of things, time those things, and then optimize your energy usage, optimize your machine usage, your actual productivity in the mine. So, I mean, Elizabeth mentioned a lot of the benefits, so I can't go over too much of those things again, but that's one area we see on a daily basis where automation goes hand in hand with electrification and provides some good benefits to the mine. So definitely in the safety and productivity areas and the usage of your resources that you have and optimizing those. So, and it goes with digitalization too, and getting the data back and feedback, which also is a very important aspect of this. So, and it allows you to make decisions. And I mean, we're even heading towards some artificial intelligence to make these decisions of when you need to, which battery you should grab, which one's full, which one's not, and if you're going to swap your battery and things like that. So that's what we're seeing in the marketplace right now.
And Mirzad, I understand your eMine solution aims to integrate obviously electrification and automation, and obviously touching on Sean's point as well about digitalization. So could you tell us a bit more about how you approach the integration of these different aspects?
Yeah, I mean, nothing to add too much. Elizabeth formulated very well the entire, actually the picture of involvement of automation. But as Sean said, I started with this, that electrification automation always goes hand in hand. I mean, what we have done in the last 4 or 5 decades in the mining business was always what we call it EC&OS business. EC stands for electrification and control, because it's always, it goes together. By integration of this solution, I mean, including automation and digital system, we are always trying to set up a system that actually plan, monitor, and control process, optimize the operation, and also energy use, which these days by actually decarbonization efforts is much more important. And at the end, we need to effectively manage the process and power control in the same time, simultaneously. And at the end, our customer needs to have a system which is highly standardized, configurable, and solution which somehow secure the continuous production, and also control the process in the same time control the actually the power. And this stays also with the advanced integration, because we have actually a very important goal, which is interoperability, and it's not happen if without actually considering the automation. Also, I said earlier, we need to integrate the green resources of energy and bring the actually renewable energy in, which actually create more complexity for from grid point of view. And to have still have overall control and optimization role, we need to have actually the fully integrated automation system. And we all know that energy is one of the most significant costs for operation. Having a system that manages all the planned operational needs under same interface, I believe it's a must. Although I should say that these days still some of the customers keep these two separate, electrification with automation system, and they integrate system in a 2 different way. But we believe this should be done in one shot, in one view, because when we provided the system, we as a market leader for DCS with ABB Ability 800XA, we fully integrate electrification automation out of one hand. And not only by 800XA that we are actually providing to the market, not only meet the process automation requirement, but also we integrate almost all electrical devices from low voltage, medium voltage, high voltage. And this connectivity, as Elizabeth mentioned, is quite important, because we connect through the different protocol, different devices. And I should say, this integration of automation system brings a lot of advantages. First of all, increase the visibility, communication between the groups in the mine process and mine, and also within the process. Also, by automation, you shorten the time of take action with better understanding what is the impact on the process and also what is the impact on the electrical system. Other advantage is that you have a better maintenance perspective with the integration system. When all these IEDs is connected to the network, you can have or take the better maintenance action, and also even can be done fully remotely. This reduces the time for troubleshooting of the failure and helping to improve the total plant uptime, which is also quite important. And a lot of other advantages. I mean, with the automation system, for example, you can integrate the camera system to have a view on the full system to actually bringing the electrification to next level. For example, with the full remote monitoring over the substation, you can see what is going on, improving the safety, reducing time which is needed to have a people on site, increase overall visibility over the entire plant control, and also communication with the fleet, which they are going to be fully electric. They are going to be fully a kind of electrical consumer. And with this automation system, we will have the full visibility about their status, communication, and also at the end managing this electrical consumer, which now they are started to move.
The final topic I wanted to ask about was full electrification. It's obvious there's been an upswing in the uptake, in the adoption of electric systems. We've observed this in our own mining magazine Intelligence, Future Fleets report, and I'm sure you've all observed similar. But obviously, the end goal for the sector would be full electrification. So I guess I wanted to ask, how close are we to seeing full electrification happen, to see it become commonplace, or to even expand out the question, how close are we to seeing a fully net zero mine with both an all-electric fleet and the renewable or low-carbon power generation that Mirzad, you touched on earlier. So what will need to happen for the industry to get there? I guess for this, Sean, I would turn to you first. I know that Epiroc is involved with Glencore at Onaping Depth, where they're aiming to achieve a full electrification. So yeah, you're able to share insights into that, and I guess what that case study could provide in terms of an example for others.
Yeah, thanks. We worked with Glencore for quite a few years on the ODP project, and that's going to be starting in around January next year, 2024. And all the equipment is going to be electric. We're the supplier of the mobile equipment, but there's two other suppliers for utility and personnel carrier equipment. So I would have to say we're very close, because on Onaping Depth, the Glencore mine is going to do that. And it's going to do it really soon. I know that some of the struggles of doing this, and they've also had is looking at different kind of equipment and whether it's already available in electric. Things like graders for the mine pathways and roads in the mine are not readily available. People are just getting that equipment out to the market. So they had to look at some of their equipment and say, how can we get this electric? Who can supply it? Maybe not their usual suppliers. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then the whole how to design the mine. And as we mentioned earlier, if you go downward, you haul down and then hoist it up, then you can get regen on your batteries, and your trucks and your batteries will last longer, more runtime. So those kind of things. But everything's out there right now to do this, to be an electric mine. There's lots more experience out there. We had Gen 1 in 2012, and we're now over Gen 2 equipment out there. So the experience is, 11 years of experience. So, and it started in mines in Canada, like Kirkland Lake Gold, and that experience has helped us learn and get ready and more ready all the time. So I think we're on the cusp of a lot of mines switching over and becoming fully electric. Hard to do on an existing mine, unfortunately. It has to be on a new mine. And then the mines get the big advantage that they're planning, you know, reduced ventilation, because when you design a new mine, you can, if you know you're going all electric, then you know you can lower your ventilation and then lower your ventilation costs. So that's there. And then the chargers, the charging equipment, the managing of the power, the management system for your power. I mean, stuff ABB works on and other electric suppliers is very critical to this. So yeah, I think it's very doable. The mines are ready. It's happening, and everybody we talk to, whether it's a new mine or existing mine, wants to look at electric equipment for their mine. Maybe not full electric at the start, but they want to head that direction. So I think it's going to happen very near in the future. There'll be lots of mines that go fully electric. So.
Mazad, would you share those sentiments in terms of mines quite soon going fully electric? What do you see as the pathway?
I mean, it's hard to answer. I mean, in my opinion, market is not shaped yet. When we look at the number of the opportunity, I should say that we are not far. But unfortunately, when we look at the actually technical solution, I should say that we know we are not yet in position to have all solution available. But there are some actually some of the things that needs to be happen before we say actually we are close to all electric mine happening. I think one of them, which is quite crucial, is actually innovative business model, means collaboration between OEM. I mean, we heard from very first day that we entered to the market that no one can do it alone. We need the collaboration between OEM, which is quite important step. ABB did also this step. We in earliest stage, actually, we tried to announce a lot of collaboration between different OEM technology provider, what we call it KTS, key technical suppliers, to speed up this development of carbon reduction technologies. And we are convinced that this solution lies in creating a strategic pool of miners involving different technology provider who can look at the miners' requirement and work together and come with the right solution, working closely to say what is actually needed for this kind of requirement, which this strategic collaboration between miner having the same interest will help us as a technology provider to push more this collaborative technology development between us and OEM, and also will increase the speed of adaptation of carbon reduce and hopefully finally fully zero carbon solutions to the mining market. By creating this collaborative platform, actually, as I said, we work closely with the other technology supplier, and at the end, the customer have access to the pool of solutions, which they can actually put into the conceptual studies that they are actually driving and running. One of the things that I said also earlier, in my opinion, if we want to be close to the actually this all-electric mine, that we have to have this holistic approach to entire ecosystem. We consider everything. Also, these days, as I said, we are thinking beyond electrification by integrating of right third party to take over the entire mine design beyond electrification. Look at the mine from total solution point of view. How it looks like when electrification has happened, when we need to integrate actually the electrified fleet, and by that, we can actually provide the right technology based on the operational requirement. One of the things that I think is quite important, if that all electric mines should happen one day, is that we create a kind of ecosystem which is interoperable and OEM agnostic, as also Sean mentioned earlier, which is also quite important goal. We should create a kind of agnostic solution which customer and miners feel comfortable that at the end they are not bound to the one specific technical solution, or they are not bound with one specific fleet. They we want to make it as easy as possible to integrate the interoperable solution or interoperable system for our customer, and which is also needs a very close collaboration between OEM and technology provider like us. And at the end, this joint development play a crucial role to also to use the domain expertise of the key technical supplier like us, like OEM, not only to provide this interoperable solution, but also in a wider range, help to establishment of industry standard, which is also quite required. Other things that I can mention is that we need to also consider the holistic approach. I mean, as I said also earlier, not only think about trolley charger or battery equipped vehicle or storage system, we need also to think about how to balance grid design with the new requirement, how to create the communication standard for multi-vendor integration, fixed and mobile assets, and also real-time acquisition, processing, and visualization of the system, advanced analytic to improve operation and availability of the asset. Also to know about all the technical ingredient for successfully make this all-electric mine happen. These are all also required that we be close to this all-electric mine. Maybe other things that we need to mention is that at the end, miner needs to be a bit patient. They need also to start to invest on the new technology. Many of these technologies enabling this shift towards all-electric mine are still, unfortunately, in the prototype stage. And it's not easy to get them from lab to the mine. I mean, this needs a bit of patience from our miners, especially that safety is quite important for us, is in the highest priority for us. But this traditionally risk-reverse culture of the mining needs to be a bit changed. And we have to have from our miners a new commitment to support and shape this development of emerging technology. And maybe I can also mention that one of the things which help that at the end we move towards all-electric mine is that we have to help our customer for workforce, building the workforce which is, they wanted to take over or take on this challenge in the mining. And in my opinion, the new workforce is quite crucial. They should be able to manage innovation. For example, a driver for or driverless trucks will result in the shifting a skill profile from heavy license drivers to employees that they should manage the data processing, digital literacy. They have to have a kind of a skills for the technical planning. Also, the people that work in this new environment or new mines, which is actually designed based on the electrification, they should be actually be able to work on the new digitally powered workplace. They are moving more from the routine tasks to the roles that require the higher level of thinking to anticipate and plan the activities. From the other side, also manage the HMI interfaces. And as a last point, I can mention that still we need to a kind of policy and regulation in place. I mean, in most of the rich mine countries, this is gradually started, but not in all countries. Still is not clear from a governmental point of view what is their policy. And somehow to enable this clean energy development, especially in the energy intensive industry like mining, we need the support from the governments and also policy and regulation in place to help us to understand how we can play our role. That was more or less a kind of summary from my point of view of all those things that is needed to help us to be actually in the position to say all electric mine happening in the mining business.
And Elizabeth, I would imagine that a lot of these challenges are things that you've thought about as well and looked at in your work. So how would you approach sort of overcoming these challenges and how, and if you're able to make a prediction, how soon are we to seeing full electrification become a reality?
So when it comes actually to the term full electric or all electric fleets and all electric mines, I'm a bit reluctant to that to several reasons. So first of all, I think it's important to differentiate a bit, to say what is the objective of electrification. I think it's important not to electrify per se due to the need for electrification, but due to the electrification per se, but more in terms of what kind of objectives are going to be achieved by electrification as an enabler for reaching certain objectives. And these objectives are also varying. So when we talk about surface mines, we're mainly focusing on currently at the objective of reducing carbon emissions. When we talk about underground mines, of course, it's about emissions, but very often it's about the threshold limit values when it comes to exposure limits for the workers, for example. So and also when we talk about electrification, also to say that so currently it's and also as we discuss it here, we're discussing as an increasing or as a topic which is gaining more interest or gaining more attraction at the moment, which is I think it's true, but I think also specifically when we're talking about this electrification nowadays, very often it's focusing on novel technologies for electrification. It's focusing on battery-equipped vehicles due to novel technology development. So, but also I think it's important to raise and to highlight it here that electric mines has been a topic for decades. So, and if we talk, for example, about cable electric vehicles, there are proven technologies out there. Of course, they do have other disadvantages, specifically in terms of flexibility. But the technologies for cable electric vehicles are out there, and they are proven. So when we talk nowadays about electrification, very often, and we talk about two things. Very often we talk about battery electric vehicles, and on the other hand, more or less comparable. If we talk about the Scope 2 emissions, we talk about the energy and where does the energy comes from. So we talk about also this energy transition and energy change when it comes to electricity, and so which makes it much more, I would say, more integrated, more complex, as we not only focusing on the technology side of the vehicles or equipment, but also on the energy generating side. And I think this is one of the key topics. And so when we talk about several technologies and when we talk about electrification in terms of or for achieving net zero, for me, it's also important to highlight that reaching net zero emissions, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily means the whole operation all needs to be electric. As I'm convinced there could also be certain niches or certain technologies reducing carbon emissions in another way. However, when it comes to technology development, at the end of the day, it's a matter of costs and it's a matter of risk. And as pointed out by Mehsad, it's currently not, so technologies are currently under development and what already has been set. And so there is what I also observe is a part of a bit of reluctance in terms of how does these vehicles, for example, battery equipped vehicles looks like when it comes to the implementation. And so it's and this is, I think, quite interesting nowadays. So on one hand, we have the technological readiness is one thing. So still it's a development issue. And on the other hand, of course, there are great lighthouse projects out there, but at the end of the day, it also it is the matter of if it's economically feasible as well. So and these are, I would say, currently the both questions we are having, and which is developing in parallel: technically feasibility as well as economically, if it's economically feasible. And therefore, it's also so important to identify and develop references and reference use cases. And as pointed out by Mehsad, it's a matter of cooperation, and I fully agree to that. That it's due to the complexity and due to the nature of the electrification of mines. It's so important that OEMs collaborate with mine operators, collaborate with researchers, also from the mining side, from the equipment side, from the energy side as well, cooperate with research institutions, and also it's also a matter of integrating of legislative frameworks. So how does they look like? So and therefore, I think this is quite the it has a huge potential actually to use this challenge and also use the drivers and the pressure we are facing, or the whole industry is facing. So to see it really as the challenge or the chance also to change, and therefore I'm convinced that collaboration is key for that, and so. Therefore, we are very happy. So that we, as a research institution here, that we are involved in several projects, and when it comes to the holistic picture, as you pointed out, Mirza, to develop technologies for the electrification of mines and of equipment, both for surface as well as underground operations.
Fully agree, Elizabeth. You mentioned that at the end, whatever we do should be economically feasible for our customer, this is actually one of the things that hindering the market, and that's why that we also try to always trade off between different type of solution. I mean, at the end, our customer wants to move the material from A to B, and a kind of trade-off study between different type of solution. For example, bell conveying system or hoist system or electrified fleet. At the end, we want to, if we have a customer, they are convinced for electrify the fleet, they're fully convinced that this is a best solution technically and economically, and at the end, actually is a feasible solution. And we are hoping that by developing technology together with the other OEM, as I said also earlier, what we call it these days, grid to wheel solution. From grid side, we take care of that, and actually wheel side, the OEM, being able to provide a kind of seamless portfolio, which is also at the end is more economic. A customer can pay for that. And at the end, in the longer term, maintain the productivity, which is it's the biggest concern in our customer side, because when we talk to them, when they are mentioning what is our risk when we are switching to electric, can we maintain the productivity? We feel that is a quite heavy responsibility, that you are changing the system based on the new type of the solution, and at the end, you want to make the customer sure that they can maintain the productivity.
I guess just to follow up a bit on my side, maybe I'm a little optimistic because I'm involved in a couple of projects that are going to be electric mines fully. It's very good for us and very exciting. But both Elizabeth and Mirza had mentioned about partnerships and collaboration. That's very critical to going forward with this. There's no one solution, and no one person has all the solution to do an electric mine. So it's many companies involved. And there's some limitations. So the projects I'm involved in happen to be feasible for that kind of application. One of the mines wouldn't even happen. ODP without going electric would not even be feasible. Without the ventilation and savings and those kind of things, you couldn't mine that body. That body's been around for 10 or 12 years, known about, but it was never feasible until this electric vehicles became good for underground. So that's a big part of it. And then, but there's some limitations, mines that got to haul long ways right now. And Mirza mentioned it, that trolley is not fully ready yet. Vale in Canada does do trolley in a couple of their mines right now, using Karuna trucks. They're a partnership with Epiroc and ABB that we put in there, but most mines do not have trolley and do not have a solution for long hauls right now. The batteries, they would have to change them very often to run those kind of trucks. So that is the limitation. We're on surface right now, trolley. They do have multiple mines and multiple projects. I know ABB has one in Canada, and where they run the trucks on trolley, and it's working fine. So underground, some more development work still. There's a couple of projects of Leiden that ABB is involved in at the Leiden mine, and then there's Blue Vein in Australia, and we're supplying the vehicle for both of those projects. So there's some still development in certain situation and limitation depending on your mining method and how you're mining. So maybe it's a little optimistic on a couple projects we're involved in, but those projects are feasible to be all electric. And then you mentioned about the feasibility, but part of the feasibility is also the safety aspect. I mean, do we want our people, as we mine, and these mines go further, deeper, they get hotter and hotter, and do we want our people down there in the hot mines with the emissions coming out of your vehicle and noise, or do you want electric vehicles down there where there's no emissions, no heat coming from the vehicle, and it's hot enough down there already? So some of the feasibilities, do we want to, it's a benefit to our people who are working for us. So I think there's financial, but there's also that aspect too. So anyways, and then I think Elizabeth made a point, and that's true, and I never really thought about it, but for years we've had large electric drills in pits they've run on electricity. Most of the drilling equipment underground runs plugged in, doesn't trim on battery, but now it does. There's been electric scoops underground tethered that run for years. So some of that technology is already in place and happening. So anyways, just a few comments, and maybe I was a little optimistic, but I'm very excited and I see it happening, and it's more and more feasible. I think technology is really advancing. You see it every month, where we work. So I think it's going to be more and more feasible, and I think it's going to go forward. In some cases, it won't be battery electric. It might be hydrogen. It might be other. There is other solutions out there for big trucks and other things. So, but it's a pretty exciting times, I think.
Maybe I can also add, as you mentioned, this mining methodology is different from case to case, mine to mine. That is also create a bit of more complexity. That's why also we are trying to more and more talk to the miners and also to the market to explain all the technical constraints that we have. And that I believe we are still in that phase to educate market about what is actually available today and what might be available in the next 5 to 10 years. And we are hoping that the miners and mining market accept this kind of phased approach. We need to elaborate what are actually incorporate to the system what we have right now. And it might not be a perfect solution in the next 5 or 10 years, but we need to start somewhere. And gradually, when the technology is improving, it's actually possible to make it more feasible, more economic from actually financial point of view, and actually scalable. Then we actually bring it to the mines in the different phases. And I think this is also one of the biggest challenge in the market right now, that sometimes we feel that the mining market is waiting for the perfect solution to start with, which might not happen soon.
Would anybody else like to add some closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would just say to me, it's a pretty exciting future. I work with a lot of mines and been in some mines and lots of mines, and work with some technology people across the globe right now. And I mean, it's very emerging technology, not only in our mines, but in our day-to-day life. I think we all see that. And I think that it'll be education. The education of people in their daily lives also helps when we're talking about underground. Educational institutions that are doing more training, as Mirzad mentioned, is that when people forget that we had diesel for 100 years, and most people when we get mechanics have fooled around with a gasoline engine or a diesel engine in their as they grew up, but nobody's been fooling around with golf carts or electric drivetrains when we get them. So we have to develop these programs with colleges and educational institutions and universities, and we have to grow knowledge in our workforce. And I think that'll all help in this implementation. So I just want to say it's exciting. I think it's going to be a really great future for our children and future generations. So thank you for having me. So.
Yeah, fully agree to that. So there are really exciting times ahead, and I'm really looking forward to what will come in the future. And also, as you said, Shona, I think what is really interesting, and so that it is an integrated complex challenge with so many different dimensions. We are have to address it in parallel technological developments, but also on the education training side, and So at the end of the day, so we as at the MT, we are convinced it's our vision is of the human-centered climate smart mine, and the electrification of the equipment and vehicles plays an important role. And so many things and different aspects to develop, and I'm really looking forward to that. And thanks a lot for being in this round today. It really was fun. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, Sean, and Mirzad. Thank you for really interesting discussion on electrification. And I would echo your comments. It's all of your comments. It's a really exciting space, and it's going to be really interesting to see how electrification progresses in the years to come. Mine electrification in the years to come. Thanks all.